conduct of the government and the way in which they govern, should they be under more scrutiny? Or basically, should they just have carte blanche to decide whatever they want? Because this is a national crisis, it's unprecedented, and in our lifetime, we probably won't see anything like it again. It's 6:15.
This is LBC.
Hi, I'm Jake, and I'm a cleaner for TfL. We're keeping the transport network cleaner and safer than ever before by regularly spraying all our services with hospital-grade antiviral disinfectant. It kills viruses and bacteria on contact, so the network is as safe as possible for everyone. Please also remember, everyone must wear a face covering at all times, unless you are exempt. We're ready when you are. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Hear that? That's the sound of Mo, zipping along in a free now black cab going to his meeting. And that's him zooming to town with friends in a free now private hire vehicle. Black cab, private hire vehicle. Black cab, private hire. Black cab, private hire. See, with black cabs and private hire vehicles together on ride-hailing app Free Now, you're in control. So however you roll, download Free Now and get 50% off your first ride with code TAXI. Terms and conditions apply.
Thanks to new government guidance and the hard work put in by everyone in our team, we're able to safely reopen TDC dental implant centres and get back to what we do best, restoring confidence and beautiful smiles. So, if you've been suffering with loose or painful teeth or have trouble with dentures, take the first step and find out how you can benefit from our award-winning Smile in a Day dental implant treatment. Book your no-obligation consultation at smileinaday.co.uk.
We all cough and sneeze occasionally. We can't change that. But you can help protect your staff and get your business going again with acrylic cough and sneeze screens from WorkShield. Designed to click together in seconds, there's a WorkShield for every use in every business. From just £73 delivered. Order now and save an extra 10% on all products with code RADIO. WorkShield. Get your business going. Price excludes 20% VAT.
Ian Payne on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
So in a few moments we'll speak to Bob Blackman, who is a part of the 1922 Backbench Committee. I'm just asking whether or not you think the conduct of the government, the way that they behave, the way that they make legislation at the moment, is it representative of the party as a whole? Does it need to be? Should they be more accountable? This is because of this possible amendment that's getting a lot of support across all the parties, even the Tory party, as I say, suggesting that every piece of legislation to do with COVID-19 should be scrutinised by MPs, or at least seen before it's announced. 0345 6060 973. I love this text. It doesn't say who you are. It just says, hi, can I call? Yeah. What's the number? I don't know whether you're taking the mick or not, but anyway, 0345 6060 973. It's a mantra. I say it in my sleep. It's 19 minutes past 6. Let's go to Dave. What do you think, Dave?
Well, you know, it's an interesting one. I mean, I think that from what I haven't been following it particularly closely, to be honest with you, but it does sound like, you know, this thing is as serious as, you know, it's coming across. You know, it's not the kind of thing that, you know, we haven't got that much time, put it that way, you know, to do, you know, as much as in, you know, the real world, you know, but some people have said this is like a war against this virus, and, you know, in wartime, it's probably not possible to do things, you know, quite as democratically as one would want to do, you know, in peacetime, you know, and it strikes me that there must be a certain amount of devolution, I'll put it down, I don't know what's the right word for it, but certainly in the way that certain areas are looking down, you know, independently of others, you know, I don't know who's calling the shots there, but presumably they're flagging up, you know, we've got a rising number of cases, what do we need to do?
Do you like the way that they make the decisions, or should they be more democratic and accountable to MPs?
Well, it depends on the decision, I guess. You know, I'm guessing that the problem is, I'm not making excuses here, but, you know, this is a race against time, and, you know, sometimes, you know, with the numbers rising, you know, as they have been, you know, there just isn't the time to do. I mean, put it this way. I mean, I've been following some of the business with the the local, sorry, what do they call it, the low traffic neighbourhoods, where they're creating these spaces to walk and cycle, and some areas have absolutely gone, hook, line and sinker to sort of do things and create these spaces overnight. But the ones that are involving all the councillors, getting the road across, they've done absolutely nothing. It's still, tying up in, well, not red tape, but in terms of the democratic innings, the democratic support.
Okay, well let's see what the 1922 committee thinks. Thank you very much indeed, Dave. By the way, someone's just got in touch and saying, why are you talking about this? You should be talking about Ofcom. We will be, don't worry. In about half an hour's time, we'll be talking about Ofcom and the fact that Paul Dacre possibly could become the head of Ofcom, the former editor of the Daily Mail, and Charles Moore, who was the editor of the Daily Telegraph, looks like becoming the chairman of the BBC. That could be interesting. Right, as promised, let's speak to Bob Blackwood. Bob joins us now. He's the Joint Secretary of the 1922 Committee. It, of course, represents the backbench MPs. Thank you very much for joining us, Bob. Do you feel that the government is unaccountable?
I think the serious problem here, and I think for all your listeners, they will need to understand these coronavirus powers that we as MPs agreed in March are quite draconian, and they're agreed because of the emergency, because of the need to go into lockdown for a period of time. We're now coming to the renewal of those powers. I think we've all taken a view on this to say, well, that's fine, we are quite happy with what the government has done. I mean, let's be quite clear. We're not saying the government hasn't done the right thing, but what we do think is that if the government is going to take extra powers or use some of these powers, then they should bring what we call a statutory instrument to Parliament. That means that there will be a yes or a no vote on it. And that's not going to say, well, we change the decision, but that Parliament should hear the arguments for why these proposals are being made, and they'll get the chance to support them. Because I thought, my constituents will be saying to me, well, why are we doing this? Why is this happening? And I want to be in a position of being able to say to them, look, we've debated this, we've discussed it, and we've agreed that this is the right thing to do, and we've got to make everyone safe.
But in a national emergency, I mean, I can't believe that every single decision during the war was debated by MPs. You've got to be able to act quickly. Won't this just delay everything?
Well, just to give you an example, one of my colleagues made the point that when we went to war to recover the Falklands, Parliament was recalled and had a Saturday sitting.
I remember it.
An all-day debate, and then the decision was taken. I think, we're not obviously in a position going to war. We're in a position whereby a lot of these decisions, for example, are being said that in a week's time or a few days' time, then a place is going to go into lockdown, or a partial lockdown. So it's not happening straight away. There is a delay whilst these decisions can be implemented. And I think what we're saying is, look, let's debate them. Let's argue in Parliament. Let's get everyone on side. And then I think the government's going to win all of those votes, by the way.
Yeah.
But let's make sure that they are aired and discussed. I think one of the problems that a lot of people come to me about is to say, well, who's making this decision and why? And it's very difficult if you're an MP to say, well, it's been taken at the right level for the right reasons. We want to be in a position, I think, to say, yes, they're being taken for the right reasons. It's the right thing to do.
But to use your comparison, it's all very well voting on whether or not to go to war with Argentina, or it's sensible to vote at the beginning about the COVID-19 legislation. But you're not going to vote on every decision that was made during the Falklands War, are you?
No, and I think that's right. I think what we're saying is that you have to understand that the powers that are in the Coronavirus Act are quite draconian, and the reality is that most of them haven't been used.
Such as? Give me an example of something that's draconian.
Well, draconian rules on congregating in public spaces and such like that. I mean, this would be quite an intrusion on people's civil liberties. Now, I would personally agree that we need to do some of these things, but let's debate them and people understand why they're being done. Because I think we've got to get people on our side for when these decisions are being made. And if we don't, the risk is for the government that they will get to a point whereby that people just will not obey the
philosophy of life or not?
He's got a particular view on this bomb destruction.
He is. He's a time bomb, isn't he? He's going to go.
He comes up with brilliant ideas. The issue is then, as always when people come with brilliant ideas, you've got to assess the practicability of those ideas and test them. I think that's the...
Okay, and then the final question obviously has to be, I spoke to John Rendell from The Independent a few months ago, and he was saying actually he's not sure whether Sir Lindsay Hoyle or whoever will be the speaker that day will allow this amendment. Is that true?
Yes, I mean, obviously it is up to the speaker. The first thing to remember is that the government obviously put down a motion for debate, and then it's up to the speaker which, if any, amendments he takes, and whether he says, actually this amendment is out of scope. In other words, it's one that can't be considered under this particular proposal. And I think that irrespective of that, you introduced me as the Joint Secretary of the 1922. There are only 6 officers in 1922, and all of us have signed this amendment. There are more people's names from the 1922 executive that are going down tomorrow. So there'll be an overwhelming majority of the 1922 executive who are elected by Conservative backbenchers to actually represent the backbenchers. You have to recognise that there is a strong feeling on the Conservative backbenchers that this needs to be done, and I think the government needs to listen.
Well, maybe they will. Thank you very much indeed, Bob. Really appreciate your time. Bob Blackwood, who's the Joint Secretary of the 1922 Backbench Committee and the Conservative MP for Harrow East. It's interesting, he's never even seen Dominic Cummings in the flesh. Wow. So, what are we saying here? We're saying, yes, if they're making a noise and they want the government to listen, do you think A, the government will, or that the government should? During a crisis, this is a crisis, you need to be able to make speedy decisions. Will this not hold things up? In any normal year, you would say, yes, of course, government legislation needs to be scrutinised by democratically elected people. However, during a crisis, should the government have more power? They've voted themselves more power. This COVID-19 bill, as Bob was saying, is very draconian. It does allow the government to do stuff they would never normally be able to do without some scrutiny. And there's beginning to be a feeling amongst MPs now that the government has used that right too rigorously. And they have decided that they will literally ride roughshod over any kind of scrutiny by MPs. And I said we've seen it many times. That is the way that this particular administration works, whether you like it or you don't. The whole business of Brexit has kind of created a new steely version of government practice, and that government practice now seems to be, we're going to think outside the box, we're going to do things, eat out to help out. What a great idea to call that one up. Do they need to be explaining why they're making these decisions? 03456060973 is the number to ring. If you didn't get that number, by the way, it's 03456060973. It's 6:30. The news headlines now with Tim Humphrey.
3 more council areas in Wales have been put into local lockdown following a rise in coronavirus cases. The new restrictions in Neath, Port Talbot, Vale of Glamorgan and Torfaen come into force from 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Similar measures are now in place in Swansea and Cardiff. The Culture Secretary says university students will be able to return home for Christmas if we all stick to the coronavirus rules. Oliver Dowdle is urging us to pull together. A man's been arrested on suspicion of supplying a firearm following the fatal shooting of a police officer. Sergeant Matt Rutler died after being shot at Croydon Custody Centre in South London early on Friday morning. The weather clouds spreading in the northwest with some rain tonight, but milder than last night. Central parts will be clear with some frost. Cloudy in the east, but less windy, and a low of 2.
LBC.
Hi, I'm Titilayo, the customer service assistant for TfL. We're now back to good service levels on the underground, as well as on the buses and trains. Please still travel at quiet times if you can. The quietest times to travel on weekdays are 8:15 a.m. to 4 p.m. and after 5:30 p.m. This will help us all by maintaining social distancing. And remember, everyone must wear a face covering at all times, unless you're exempt. We're ready when you are. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Business right now is
Get your money the next business day with no long-term commitments, so you're ready for whatever's next. See everything we can do at square.com/UK. Square Up Europe Limited is regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
It's everything. The roof over your head, the food on the table. If it doesn't work, you don't. If your van or pickup is your business, now's the time to invest in it. The Ford Upgrade and Save promotion. £1,000 upgrade saving, 0% APR representative finance, and 3 months deferred payment on Ford Acquire. It's 3 promotions in one. Ford Upgrade and Save for Business runs until the 30th of September. We're with you on this journey. Ford Commercial Vehicles. Search Backbone of Britain.
Model exclusions and deposit restrictions may apply. Request for credit.
At Lidl, we're big on award-winning nappies for happy little chappies. Big on the perfect fit. Big on an easy change for spare change. With a pack of 24 nappies from just 79p. Lidl's your meal range. You're right, Theo. That's big on quality. And always big on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes NI.
That's Zane whizzing through town in a free now private hire vehicle, taking advantage of our low prices. And that's him nipping home in a free now black cab with prices that never surge. Private hire vehicles, low prices. Black cabs never surge. See, with the choice of black cabs and private hire vehicles together on ride-hailing app Free Now, you're in control to get there cheaper. So however you roll, download Free Now and get 50% off your first ride with code TAXI. Terms and conditions apply.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Ian Payne.
Okay, spoiler alert, and I know people get upset if I suddenly announce results in sport people aren't ready for it. So if you don't know the tennis score, listen away. Ready? Poor old Murray, beaten in 3 sets very, very quickly by Stan Wawrinka at the French Open in Roland Garros. He lost 6-1, 6-3, 6-2. It is 26 minutes to 7. Rachel Johnson will be here at 7 o'clock. Before that, let's talk a little bit about the practice of the government. Well, of course, 03456060973 is the number to ring to say whether or not you think that this government should actually be consulting Parliament more. Whether or not this amendment is allowed, it's gaining traction, and it seems to be that if it was voted on, it could be that the government might lose on this one. What do you think? Why do you not have this problem in Scotland? Just asking, says Maria. A, I don't know, and B, I'm not sure about the kind of the way that everything is funneled on COVID-19, and indeed everything to do with government through Nicola Sturgeon. It's always presidential to me, what's happening in Scotland. I don't know. I mean, I think Boris is putting it slightly too invisible, but Nicola Sturgeon's completely at the other end of the scale. I mean, nothing seems to be decided unless she announces it. Is there no one else who works for the Scottish Parliament? Yeah, just say it, Maria. 03456060973. Should our government be more accountable, or should, because this is a crisis, they be allowed to pass legislation without MP scrutiny? Let's go to Cheshire and speak to Catherine. Hello, Catherine.
Hello, my name's Catherine. I'm a lawyer, and I'm actually very pleased to say that Graham Brady is my local MP, and I'm very proud of Graham.
Yeah, he's great.
However, I actually don't understand why this couldn't have been sorted out in-house, so to speak, if he felt that more scrutiny was required. He actually made a comment a couple of weeks ago saying that the government should really stop telling people what to do and how to behave, because people are quite capable of exercising their own judgment. But actually, the behavioural scientists have all said that the reason for the lack of compliance is in fact that people are compliance exhausted. They just can't comply with any more rules and any more restrictions, so deluded by it. But with regards to this view of the coronavirus, I do feel that yes, some of the measures are draconian, but then again, we have never faced an inland crisis like this. It's very different if you're fighting a war miles away, but this is at our own doorstep, killing members of our family.
I completely understand that. The only thing I would say is I would be amazed if Sir Graham Brady, knowing how sort of methodical and sensible he is, hasn't tried to sort this out quietly behind closed doors. But if we've learned anything about the way that Britain is ruled under Boris Johnson's government, it is that they don't listen to anybody. They think they know all the answers, or that's the impression.
Well, you have to look and say that, you know, the announcements that have been made, that the decisions do need to be made very, very quickly, that they are acting all the time under the advice of the Chief Scientific Officer and the Chief Medical Officer. So the measures that are being brought in are actually being led by the likes of, a couple of months ago, Professor Christlety, I believe, threatened to leave if he was ignored and restrictions were lifted too quickly. He was very much against it. The government are in a very, very difficult situation. I just feel that, if Graham wants to hand brownie points to the other side, then, that's exactly what I feel he's doing in this circumstance.
So you think that basically things should just be left alone? The government's doing it perfectly well.
I do agree that there should be more scrutiny on certain matters. However, decisions regarding health and restrictions, the idea that these are draconian and affect our civil liberties, they also affect our health right to the death.
Yeah.
And if the government needs a decision within 5 or 6 hours and it's got to be published without consultation, so be it.
Okay.
I do feel that dragging it through the Commons is actually just going to lead to more confusion, actually.
All right. Well, listen, I kind of agree with you. I think it's a crisis. I think they should be allowed to do what they do. What I don't think they do very well is explain why they're taking the decisions that they are. Do you think that the message sometimes is a little abrupt?
I think that the message is a little abrupt, but then the behaviour of this virus is very abrupt.
Okay.
So I do think that they need to do that. But the idea that civil liberties are simply being ridden roughshod over is nonsense. And you've got Chris Whitty and Sir Patrick Vallance actually saying to us, look, if you don't do this, and it's shown from the behavioural scientists that actually without laws prohibiting behaviour, then people are exhausted.
Do you believe all that their projections and the models that they use? Do you kind of believe that? 50,000 people, they were saying, a day getting this virus?
I believe Sir Patrick Vallance did that for shock value, to try to get people to comply. I do believe he did that for shock value, to try to get people to comply. But people aren't complying voluntarily. In my own village of Hale, people are not complying voluntarily. I drove through it at 7 o'clock last night, and it was like any other Saturday night.
Okay, listen, thank you very much, Kathleen. It's always interesting to get another sort of side to the argument, which, there's a lot of part of me that does agree with you on that there needs to be decisions made. I'm not sure consulting MPs for every single piece of legislation is the way forward. I think that's just the way that MPs think. They like to think of themselves as the law makers, but actually it's the government who are really the law makers and not the backbenchers. But anyway, that's sort of a moot point. What's very interesting, I read a really interesting article the other day we're talking about Sir Patrick Vallance, the Chief Scientific Advisor, and it was I think it was the BBC actually managed to get hold of all the emails and the correspondence between him and various government advisors and other scientists and other academics under the Freedom of Information Act, and he got really irritated when he was suggesting, and they basically put in, they said any email that has the word herd immunity, or the phrase herd immunity, we'll find out what emails have got. So they looked at them all, and he sort of mentioned it in a couple of interviews about herd immunity, and then he was trying to sort of backtrack, and at one point he just gets really angry in this email. He said, "This is not what I meant," and makes it really, and it's like, oh my god, the quiet, calm Chief Scientific Advisor losing it completely, because all the academics were apparently up in arms about this herd immunity. It doesn't work. I don't know. Well, I think what we've learned is that there is no right answer to anything in 2020. Shay is a new caller in Wimbledon. Hello, Shay. Thanks for calling.
Hi, Ian.
Hi.
Thank you.
Can you just turn the radio off?
Yes, sure. Hi, can you hear that?
Yeah, lovely.
Great. Well, I just called because I actually used to work
each one, or are you being hush hush?
I'll leave it at hush
Okay.
if that's all right.
That's fine.
What I've realised is that this government, and I think what we've all realised, is that this government is very different to previous Tory governments that we've had. I think any COVID legislation does need parliamentary debate. Frankly, the government hasn't really been acting that quickly anyway with most of the measures that they've been putting in place. But I think, the legislation itself, the COVID legislation, it gives power to postpone, elections, referendums, lots of other, forms of our democratic system while in force. So really, if we allow for this to just go ahead unamended without debate, then it's another way of undermining our democracy. And I think the government's track record so far hasn't really been great on that front. And we've seen that they've been sort of shutting off scrutiny on all of the fronts.
Well, give me an example of something that you feel that they've done that needed more scrutiny.
Well, there's things that are currently happening. So we've got things like the integrated review coming up, which is looking at our government policy going ahead on all fronts. And we've got the chairs of the relevant committees and parties complaining that the government isn't taking into account their scrutiny, which is the purpose of the committees themselves. So I just don't think that they have a really good track record.
But that is their, as you say, that is their default setting, isn't it? This particular government is to kind of play. I mean, I saw Boris Johnson before I can't remember the name of the committee, but it's basically all the heads of all the committees.
The
liaison committee, brilliant. Thank you for being so knowledgeable. And they were all asking him questions, and again, I can't even. There wasn't really an answer. He was even. What was he asked about? He was asked